Reacher clip has Amazon action hero executing a brutal beating. A new clip from Amazon's upcoming adaptation, Reacher, has Alan Ritchson's ludicrously burly leading man Jack Reacher kicking ass and not interested in taking any names as he executes a brutal beatdown on an assortment of foolish bad guys. Released by Prime Video, the Reacher footage teases the kind of action that will be embraced by fans of the source material, as Alan Ritchson uses his hugely intimidating size to his advantage, throwing it around with aplomb as he punches, kicks, and breaks bones. Employing Jack Reacher's patented headbutt, Alan Ritchson unleashes violence on several prisoners who have made the stupid decision of picking a fight with him. Frankly, it begs the question, why would anyone standing anywhere Jack Reacher ever pick a fight with him? Regardless, action fans will be glad they did. Amazon's Reacher is based on the series of novels by Lee Child and follows Jack Reacher, a veteran military police investigator who has just recently entered civilian life. Reacher is a drifter, carrying no phone and the barest of essentials as he travels the country and explores the nation he once served. When Reacher arrives in the small town of Margrave, Georgia, he finds a community grappling with its first homicide in 20 years. The cops immediately arrest him, and eyewitnesses claim to place Reacher at the scene of the crime. While he works to prove his innocence, a deep-seated conspiracy begins to emerge, one that will require Reacher's keen mind and hard-hitting fists to deal with. One thing above all is for sure, they picked the wrong guy to take the fall. The approach to bringing the world of Jack Reacher to the serial streaming platform, according to Alan Ritchson, will consist of adapting one book per season. I don't know how much I can say. I'll say that we're going to be doing a book a season, so the first season will be the first book, the actor explained. I think that's such a great way to do this. I can see why it'd be exciting as a film, but the slow burn is what I love so much about the books. The way that he goes down the checklist and picks apart these cases, you need time. It's okay to enjoy that. I think spending a season on each book is going to be really enjoyable for audiences. Ritchson has taken the love for the character to heart and has made sure to do his research in order to best bring the character to life. I've really fallen in love, he said. I've read the books now, and Reacher has some big shoes to fill, metaphorically speaking. I'm just so thrilled to be a part of it. It's my favorite character that I've played yet. So the first season will be based on the debut novel, Killing Floor, transforming the pages into an 8-episode season, which should provide the perfect introduction to the nomadic action hero. Reacher stars Malcolm Goodwin, Willa Fitzgerald, Chris Webster, Bruce McGill, Maria Sten, Hugh Thompson as Baker, and Kristen Krug alongside Blue Mountain State and Titans actor Alan Ritchson as the titular Reacher. Amazon Prime Video's adaptation of Lee Child's Jack Reacher novels has garnered a massive following since it first premiered. It wasn't just because of its faithfulness to the source material, but also because of its lead, Alan Ritchson, who embodies the physicality and cool, calculating demeanor of Jack Reacher. Reacher is not the type to start fights, but he sure knows how to finish them with ruthless efficiency. In a recently released clip from the show, we get a brutal taste of what happens when this walking force of nature is provoked. The scene is a masterclass in unrelenting, bone-crunching violence, an unflinching reminder that, in Reacher's world, justice is rarely kind, and retribution often comes at the end of a fist. The setting the scene takes place in a dimly lit alleyway, a typical setting for Reacher to demonstrate his combat prowess. The stark, minimalist setting highlights the intensity of the confrontation that's about to unfold. There's no escape for the unfortunate thugs who have cornered Reacher, not that Head want one. What makes this scene gripping from the start is how calm Reacher appears. He stands there, his towering physique casting a shadow that seems to swallow the street whole. His face is unreadable, but there's a simmering intensity behind his eyes, the kind that tells you he's calculating the odds, weighing his opponents, and already figuring out how to dismantle them with surgical precision. The thugs, unaware of the danger they've just walked into, taunt him, brandishing weapons and throwing insults. It's the classic prelude to an action showdown, and Reacher, true to form, isn't rattled. He simply waits. His silence is unnerving, creating a palpable tension that makes the viewer hold their breath. The combat when Reacher finally moves, it's like watching a lion explode into action. There's no hesitation, no wasted movement, just a brutal efficiency that showcases his raw power and combat skill. He swings first, landing a crushing blow on the nearest thug's face. The sound of bone cracking echoes through the alley, and it's clear that Reacher's punches aren't just for show, they do damage. Serious damage. The choreography in the clip is remarkable for its realism. There are no over-the-top flips or exaggerated moves. Reacher fights the way someone with military training would, precise, economical, and devastatingly effective. His strikes are quick, aimed at weak points, knees, throats, and rib cages. It's a style that's less about showmanship and more about neutralizing the threat as quickly as possible. One of the standout moments in the fight is when Reacher grabs a thug's arm mid-swing and dislocates his shoulder with a swift, vicious twist. It's a gruesome move, one that has the thug screaming in agony, but Reacher doesn't stop. He's a machine at this point, his eyes cold and focused as he methodically takes down each opponent. Another thug tries to blindside him with a metal pipe, but Reacher anticipates it, ducking under the swing and landing a punch to the attacker's kidney that drops him instantly. The camera work here is tight, capturing every hit in painful detail. You can almost feel the impact through the screen, and the sound design amplifies this, with each punch landing like a thunderclap. The brutality of Jack Reacher, what sets this scene apart from typical action sequences, is its sheer brutality. This isn't a choreographed dance of violence, it's a mauling. Reacher fights with the primal, unrelenting force of someone who has spent their life honing their body into a weapon. And it's clear that he's not just trying to incapacitate these thugs, he's punishing them. Each strike feels personal, like a message being sent, a warning to anyone foolish enough to cross his path. Yet there's a strange grace to the way Richardson portrays Reacher during this onslaught. Despite the carnage, there's a sense of control, a detachment that makes the violence all the more chilling. Reacher is not a man lost in rage. He doesn't fight out of emotion, he fights because it's necessary. His cold, methodical approach to combat is what makes him so terrifying. He's not trying to win the fight, he's trying to end it. The scene culminates with Reacher standing over the last thug, who is barely conscious, his face a bloody mess. There's a brief moment where you can see Reacher calculating whether this man deserves further punishment, but he decides against it. In typical Reacher fashion, he's done just enough to send his message. His point has been made, violence has been the answer, and it has been delivered with devastating precision. The aftermath as Reacher walks away, leaving a trail of battered bodies behind him, there's a sense of finality. The alley is silent except for the groans of the defeated. It's a scene that serves as a stark reminder of who Jack Reacher is. He's not a superhero. He's not out for glory or revenge. He's a man with a code, and that code sometimes requires him to do terrible things. This clip encapsulates the essence of Reacher's character. He's not a man to be trifled with. When provoked, he doesn't hesitate to unleash a level of violence that most people would shy away from. But there's also a strange morality to it. Reacher doesn't go looking for trouble, but when it finds him, he ends it swiftly and brutally. Conclusion: Amazon's Reacher series has managed to capture the raw intensity of Lee Child's novels, and this clip is a perfect example of that. It's a scene that's both thrilling and unsettling, a visceral reminder of what happens when you push a man like Jack Reacher too far. Alan Ritchson's portrayal of Reacher is pitch perfect, bringing the character's intimidating physicality and cold intellect to life in a way that few actors could.